Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Gulfstream. Today, Ron Nicoletti, along with Acacia Courtney, in the perfect song because it is a beautiful day here in South Florida. We have, it got cool last night.
It did. It did get a little bit on the cooler side, but still pretty comfortable afternoon, especially in the sun. Another great day for thoroughbred racing. We have 11 races up on tap today. Rainbow Six still growing, and this guy over here is ready to take you all on.
Yeah, today is Beat the Expert Day, and I'm up, and you don't see a great big smile. You see I'm ready for it, but Beat the Expert, and if you don't know how to play, you just go to our Facebook page and you play along with us. If you get more winners than me, you get a chance to win one of those sharp polo shirts that say Beat the Expert on it, and you get the bragging rights. You can come here and let me know about it. And people have been whooping me pretty good the last couple of weeks, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, me too. I always joke it's a Beat the Expert curse day on Friday, so we'll see, but should be fun, and I think you look pretty ready to go in that picture.
Yeah.
Are you flexing?
I'm flexing there.
Yeah.
I tried hard, but we'll see how it goes. So Beat the Expert, that is today. Please play along, and you know, let us know how you're doing.
Yeah.
Tweet us throughout the afternoon if you were on Twitter, or send us a text or Facebook or something like that, and it's a lot of fun. With that said, 11 races, as Acacia mentioned. The Rainbow Six today, over $2.6 million. Lots of stuff going on here, but we're going to start today with the early Rolling Super High Five with over $3,000 in that pool.
We have a carryover there too, $3,000 just to start in the Super High Five. That also kicks off today's early pick five, just a 50-cent wager, one of two pick fives on tap today. And then, as Ron mentioned, the story of the day continues to be that Rainbow Six, $2.68 million.
Yeah, it was over $3 million yesterday. There were 3 tickets alive yesterday for $2.9 million. And we always say this occasionally, even when we say it, we can't believe it, because you can get it for a 20-cent wager. Then we end the day with the final pick five of the afternoon. In case we'll have a ticket in just a little while as we go through our stuff this afternoon. No, it's still this morning. It's only 11:40 about right now. So let's take a look at your early pick five ticket.
All right, we'll dive right into it, show you my early pick five ticket. And I did find a single, and this sequence, I think that there's quite a few questions. You know, I thought the first couple of races, you had a couple of logical horses. Wigwam Summer probably going to be a short price in the opener, though that gelding is 0 for 13. Going with Too Deep in race number 2 as well. And the third race, you've got some horses with a lot of backlash, even graded stakes winner Squadron A coming back, but there's just quite a few questions. Our Limo Joe, second off the layoff, Jewel Heist kind of knocking at the door. So I ended up using 4 horses in there, and that led me to single the number 5 Charnley River for trainer Christophe Clement. I just think on the drop we have some good stats to show too. Looks like this one's going to be in the right spot. And then I'm using 2 horses that I think look the strongest. Noble Drama with a big effort last time, and Striking Air, keeping Irad Ortiz for Jose Pinchin. Nice and affordable for $16.
$16, and you're right about race number 3. And also a scratch in there of the one Saucy Dom. We're going to be giving you the scratches throughout the analysis here. Then Pete will update you in a little while on all the scratches and jockey changes. So $16, very affordable. You win that, then you use that to buy your Rainbow Six ticket.
I like it. Sounds like a good plan.
Well, I started it off in here with the number 7 Wigwam Summer, who's turning back to a mile. It just got nailed at the wire last time out.
And we'll show you that race. This was on February 14th, was the number 6 that day, and basically he was just off the pace and then ended up, as we pick it up at the quarter pole, going about 3 wide heading into the final turn. He went to the outside, and as you see there in the white shadow roll, he's got the dark blue colors. He starts to go to the outside, and it looks like he's ending up making that winning move there. And if we could just freeze it right there, the number 1 to his outside is Freudian Fall. And you've got the 10 Dino Dude, who, as we know very well, he likes to set the pace. He had been showing that speed the whole time. So now you have Wigwam Summer in this spot in between horses as they're coming down to the wire. He had horses on either side of him, one holding onto the pace and one closing. All in all, I thought a really big effort from him.
You got a big effort, and if you read the short, the trouble line, and this horse said he drifted a little bit, but I didn't see it that much in there. He's in between the horses, ran good.
I think Dino Dude actually probably drifted out a little bit into him, but all in all, he held his spot well.
Well, Wigwam Summer on top of both our tickets, and we both used the 3, and that's the other horse you use on your early pick 5 ticket, Diplomatic Shaft, who finished second in front of Wigwam Summer when they hooked up on January 26th. Renewed the rivalry, first start back from the layoff for trainer Ralph next.
And this horse ran well on the turf last time out. It was was second time off the bench, so now third off the layoff. Have to imagine he's going to take another step forward. And if he runs like that, he certainly should be put into contention here, especially because Wigwam Summer has already had so many chances.
And, I think that's the two logical horses in there. We got the 5 and the 1 flip-flop, the 1 being Snoring Barth. We like saying that name, but he's making his first start. He showed some speed. He finished third, but it was way back in April.
Yeah, he wasn't running a long time, and normally with this barn, Steve Dwoskin does a great job, but I like to see one off the layoff.
Well, the second race this afternoon is on the main track. It's a 6 furlong, claimer 4 and up, non-winners of 3 races in the life. And we do have a scratch in here. It's a big scratch. It was the even money favorite, number 4, Force in here. I moved up. I had Force in second, actually. I did not move up. I always had R. Sarge, the 2 on top.
I did too, and even when Force was in, just taking such a big drop, so ends up not running today. So it actually, I think, makes it a little bit easier to not fall for that potentially short price, vulnerable favorite. Now, R. Sarge, last race was pretty solid. Mo Bourbon was an upset winner with some dirtied up form, but I thought it was a good race from R. Sarge. He's now going to be third off the layoff too. And I think even last time dropping down in class again, doesn't really fit at the 12.5 with the 62.50, trying to get that non-winners of 3.
Ed Plessis Jr. doing a real good job lately. He's winning in races and bunches. Edgar Zayas in the saddle. Horse I used in second. I was just intrigued by this horse, and that's the 7. That's Artie's Boy. He's cutting back to this distance today of 6 furlongs. He made a middle move. He finished 5th behind R. Sarge when they hooked up, going 6.5 furlongs. I just think the drop back is good. Maybe this horse grabs a part of the exacta at a little bit of a price.
And this is a race with a lot of questions in here too. You say, well, okay, I didn't like Force, I like R. Sarge. Who do you use with him? I ended up using the number 5 Starship Danny, and his last couple of races were pretty abysmal. So hopefully I'm hoping that adding the blinkers on will help him to take that next step forward. Kind of hanging my hat on the connections here.
Yeah, Steve Dwoskin, very limited. He's 1 for 3. This horse is going to wear blinkers this afternoon. So if that helps with your decisions. Now we go to the third race this afternoon. There's a 6 furlong claimer 4 and up. Non-winners of 3 races. The life will race in September 8:30 down to 25. And you're right, we do have that scratch of the 1 Saucy Dawn. I did go with R. Limo Joe on top of my ticket, who's making the second start back from the layoff. He sort of bobbled at the start. He went up, he set the pace, he faded to finish. A screw tightening 4th at the distance. I want to show you a stat on Ralph Zadie. Second start after the layoff on dirt sprints, all claiming levels. He's solid. He's 25%. He's in the money 61% of the time. $1.80 return of investments. It's not that I'm letting anybody know big secret here. He does an excellent job. And that was my reasoning with our Limo Joe. But you're right. What do you do with a horse like, Squadron A, who's stakes winner?
Yeah, this is a really tough race, actually. And I had Saucy Dawn on top initially because I thought that this race really did go through that horse who kind of had the recency angle. Now, the thing with our Limo Joe, and the reason I ended up putting him on top, is he's got the outside post going this 6 furlongs. There's apprentice Ray Lou Gutierrez in the saddle, second off the layoff. You talked about the stats already. And honestly, I just think he's going to be the speed of the speed and run away from the rest of the field, especially with that apprentice allowance. Now, you've got Jewel Heist, who ran behind Saucy Dawn. He's run okay in his last couple of dirt races. Gaudirad Ortiz, you've got 20 and 4 dropping in class. And Squadron A, we haven't seen since February of 2017. That's when he finished third in the Grade 3 Gulfstream Sprint. He won the Grade 3 Mr. Prospector. If somebody does go with our Limo Joe and Squadron A is fit off the bench, then he's going to be the one picking up pieces. I just didn't really know what to do with him off the layoff.
Well, Marcus Vitale, Nick Juarez, it's a major drop in competition, in graded stakes companies, so there's always that little bit of a red flag. Maybe they're just looking to get a race into this horse. We'll see how it plays out. But I'm in agreement with you. I think our Limo Joe goes to the lead and plays Catch Me If You Can. And the barn, as we mentioned, Zadie, is known to do just that. Now we're going to go to race 4. And race 4, 1 mile on the turf, maiden claim is 4 and up, $50,000 down to $40,000. And I'm certainly glad that you singled Shawnee River today because that's my best bet on the card.
Oh, I like it. Very good. So extra weight for this horse to carry.
Yeah, this one is dropping to the 50 level, stretching out to a mile. Blinkers added after returning from the layup. Finished a useful 5th against Maiden Special Weight Company, going 5 furlongs. But you pointed out a stat to me about Christophe Clement over the last 5 years. Pretty good.
Yes, and this is going on the turf just from Maiden Special Weight to Maiden Claiming. Does really good job with these kinds of drops at 34% win average, 64% of the time in the money, and a positive ROI. I know that this horse was beaten as the favorite in his last two starts back at Aqueduct, and last time when he was bet down 90 cents to the dollar right here. But looking at the way he's run and even looking at him physically last time, I thought he needed the drop, and then seeing those stats, the blinkers do come off. His best race was his first race in the U.S. with Christophe without the blinkers.
Yeah, and I just think it's the logical spot. But you can see we're both in agreement with the top pick. After that, it gets a little dicey in here. I went with the 1 in second. You went with the 3, who I have in 4th.
I did end up using the 3, and I know that trainer Michael Metz not really as known for first-time starters, but the fact that John Velasquez is aboard, and I had pointed this stat out a couple weeks ago, the two of them together have just been absolutely incredible. I mean, just in 2017 to 2018 at Gulfstream, they're 50% in a limited number of runners in here. So take a look when John Velasquez, who's gotten more selective, when he picks up a mount, especially for Michael Matz, those horses seem to be very well meant, and we've seen some really good prices. Hazana comes to mind, and this one has some pedigree too. It's a 4-year-old gelding, so I don't like, you know, to see that this horse is debuting as a 4-year-old and as a gelding, but in for the tag, and both siblings won, including one horse that was Group 1 placed in the UAE.
Well, the horse that you have in 3rd, I had in 2nd, Blurred Line, a well-meant 3rd at this level and distance in his debut. Drops, he rallied to finish 3rd. He was 27 to 1 that afternoon when going a mile in at 3/16. That's against Maiden Special Weight competition last time out. This is the spot. I think this horse looks good. I like to turn back to this 1 mile distance.
I do too, and I think that definitely encouraged by the fact that he ran so well for the tag first time out. So it seems like he fits at this maiden 50.
Yeah, just to touch on the 7-10 Downing Street, stretching out to mile. First start, he closed to finish 3rd, going 7.5. Joe Orsino, what I like, Javier Castellano in the saddle this afternoon.
That's always a plus for sure. And this one's kind of been knocking on the door at this level in his last couple of starts.
Well, let's go to race number 5, 6 1/2 furlongs. These are maiden special weight state bred 3-year-olds. And we have a really nice race here. But you and I, every time I say this, we're always in agreement with the top pick. We both used number 3, Noble Drama, who's stretching out today to the distance I just mentioned.
I think I'm starting to think like you.
Oh, no. Don't even say that. You don't want to think that.
I'm a little bit nervous. But anyway, Noble Drama ran a big race last time out. Let's backtrack to that race. This was on February 16th in the 2nd race. Luis Saez was aboard that day. Tyler Gaffleone going to ride today with the number 1 horse. And it was a 5-horse field. I certainly understand that. But having the inside post going the 6 furlongs and as an unseasoned horse is always tough. And you can see he is a bit smaller in stature too. But I thought dueling with Noble Commander, so it was actually a Noble Exacta in here, just a really game run on the inside.
Yeah, he was really, really game. And as you mentioned, just being down inside there is a little tough for a horse. And ridden today by Tyler Gaffleone. And I just thought the stretch out to 6.5 furlongs would not bother this horse at all. Now, the horse that we both used in 2nd, the 2 Striking Air, is stretching out to 6.5, facing state-bred competition today, rallied to finish 4th. But boy, that was a strong group of maiden special weight runners going 5.5 furlongs.
It was. That Belle Tapisserie turned out to be very, very good. And if you look back to his very first start, that was in state-bred competition. He was, I think that was one of his best races that this horse has run so far. And yes, he was a well-beaten 4th, but that was behind Sentiamen, who was very highly touted for Antonio Sano at the time. And this one's after a multiple graded stakes place horse. You bought her. Jose Pinchin keeps Irad Ortiz up. And I just think that this one's going to improve getting back to the state-bred competition and had outside post the last couple.
Yeah, and I think those are the logical 2 in the race. I know you put the number 7 horse in 3rd in here. And I went with the 6, Night Strings, just thinking that maybe this one with John Kimmel, Jose Lizcano, surface switch this afternoon can grab a share.
Yeah, these 2 horses kind of look like the others in the field. And the 2 that we talked about seem to be the major 2 players. And then you look at these other 2 horses and you're just not really quite sure what to do with them. Night Strings on the turf last time. The dirt races have been a little bit lackluster, but going into state-bred competition on the dirt. And then Bonterra, who is first race in Stakes Company, actually ran very well to be 3rd.
Yeah, so I think the logical 2, as we said, 3 and 2, not to believer at that point. Belabor that point. I just think that was illogical, too. Even though I can't talk, I know I can say, let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have the Rainbow Six.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve, give bettors the information they need to win, and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet. We are racing.
Pennsylvania, proud of our growing breeding and racing industry. Tens of thousands of jobs with a massive economic impact. Now, North America's most lucrative awards program will pay a 50% breeder award for PA-sired, PA-bred maidens who run first, second, or third, with 25% for non-PA-sired PA-breds. Plus, up to 40% in owner bonuses, 400-plus restricted races, and our program has paid out $30 million for the 6th straight year. Breeding and racing in Pennsylvania. It's a winner.
Welcome back to Gulfstream today. Ron and Acacia. I get that a little confused sometimes. Don't ask me why. The 6th race this afternoon, 1 mile on the turf. These are maiden claimant 3-year-olds, $50,000. Nice race to start the Rainbow Six. Want to show you my ticket this afternoon. It's $64.80. Could not find those singles. I just thought this was a tough sequence all the way from race 6 to race number 11. But I like the fact that 5 and 7, but I just couldn't leave the 8 Victor Lounge off my ticket here for the first 3. So we'll see how it plays out. $64.80, and as we mentioned, over $2.6 million just to start the day.
Yeah, and you're going to take the Rainbow Six and you're beat the expert, so you got to get those on top winners.
Yeah, I got to get those winners on top. I'm going to have, I don't know, I don't want to say how many winners I have today because it's usually 0. We beat the expert day. So I just thought there's a couple of horses that faced each other last time, finished in 4 nights. The 7 and the 5 were the logical horses in here. It seemed we could carve out a better trip between those two.
I think so too, and we'll backtrack to that race. And it really was kind of a story of a couple different trips. And we're going to start at the break, and keep your eyes on the number 1 who is finished. He is the gray. As we let it go, takes a couple steps and then just stumbles right there. And then from there has to be kind of hard ridden by Joel Rosario to get into spot on the inside. The number 4 Nights at the back. And now if we freeze right here, so even after the stumble, finished up front here, the gray was able to show that early speed. And then you have 4 Nights, the number 4, who was a first-time starter at this point. He was towards the back, and even at this point, finished was dueling with Little Toe, who ends up back here already. He was fading, so Finish managed to outlast that pace duel, even with some trouble, as we let it go from there. And I thought it was a big performance from both of these horses. Now, of course, in between them, the number 6, Geodude, was the one who managed to pull away and just get the better trip. All in all, even with Finish showing that speed, he held on gamely. I thought 4 Nights could improve second time out as well.
Yeah, I am in total agreement that Finish ran the best race in there. Stumbling at the start, had to regather himself, and he goes, he was hounded all the way around, as you saw there, and still was able to finish second. So finished on top of my ticket for reasons we just showed you. It is Dale Romans. Robbie Alvarado will be in the saddle. Now 4 Nights is stretching out after that promising career debut we just showed her. Gary Gullo, Nick Juarez handling that rematch.
Yes, and I did end up putting this horse on top because I think his closing kick is going to be even more powerful today. Second time out, he gets just a little bit more real estate, went the 7.5, now going the mile today. And you've got some other speed in the race. You talked about the number 8 Victor Lounge. I kind of wonder if he's going to be pressing Finished early because he showed a lot of speed last time out, and that was with the blinkers on, and that set up for your long shot in Shanatova to win.
Shanatova, and I just thought that watching the races over the last week or so here, the speed on the turf course has been okay. It's not been a dominant force, but it's been okay, and that's why I said at the top I was a little afraid of Victor Lounge, who's cutting back to mile. He set those solid early fractions, finished third against Similar. That was going a mile into 16. Danny Gargan, Tyler Gaffleone in the saddle. Love Tyler Gaffleone. If he can get loose on the front end and save something for the stretch ride. Thus the reasoning for adding 3 horses on my Rainbow 6 ticket. Now, with that said, we'll flip the page. We'll go to race number 7. There's a 7-furlong starter allowance for 3-year-old fillies. And we have one scratch in here of the number 7, Flashing Diamond. And this is where the late pick 5 starts.
It is. We'll show you my ticket. I took a stab at the late pick 5 here. I, too, could not find a single. I thought it was a pretty tough sequence. Now, hopefully you make it through the first leg and include those 3 horses that Ronnie did in the Rainbow 6. If not, you can always start the next race with the pick 5. And we do start in a starter allowance race, which is pretty interesting. And you've got some recent last out maiden winners who have a lot to prove today, making their second start for big barns in Chad Brown and Todd Pletcher. I'm going to go with 2 deep in race number 8. Race 9, I'm just using the horses with the back class, and that's Tale of Silence and the number 6 Sonic Mule, both of whom again have some back class and going out for strong barns. Going 2 deep in race number 10, and I'm using 3 horses in the 11th race, and that's the most fascinating because you kind of wonder, well, Cryogenic, who's been a bit of an interesting horse to follow, will he be able to stay straight today?
Well, the horse that I put on top of my ticket here in race number 7, I don't know if you did too, is Dictate Cool, who's now in the Chad Brown barn. This is a daughter of Curlin.
It is a daughter of Curlin, and it was, I assume, a private purchase for Madaket Stables, formerly Sagamore, and we'll show her debut race at Laurel when with Horacio de Paz, the Sagamore trainer, and she is a very interesting filly. We're going to start with the break as she breaks as the number 3, and if we can just freeze right there. Now, you kind of saw Steve Hamilton have to sit down in the saddle a bit. She's at the back of the pack. She's a little bit keen to go early on as we let it go, and she starts to get pretty rank early on, and you can see that Steve Hamilton in those Sagamore silks has a big hold on her, trying to keep her settled. She wants to move, and now as we go to the quarter pole, he shifts outside, even expending some of that energy early on. She goes to the outside, and at Laurel, you do want to close on the outside, but she has a very powerful kick and a couple next out winners.
I want to just show you a stat on Chad Brown. Just very simple. First, after a trainer change, in dirt sprints, he's 5 for 17, 29%. He's in the money 59% of the time, and he's got a positive return of investment. So Dictate Cool, very interesting horse, this filly, going, as you said, a private purchase, now debuting here for Chad Brown.
And we do have, she is one of those recent maiden winners. You've got another one in here for Todd Pletcher, and I landed on the number 8, Virginia Key, who also won her first race, but she was also very green. So I'm really curious what we're going to get to see out of these 2 fillies, because clearly they need some experience. They're sent out for really good barns. But Virginia Key debuted at Tampa. She broke sharply, and then she pulled away, but she was kind of all over the place. The short comment says erratically, and that's a pretty good way to describe it. But John Velasquez aboard for Todd Pletcher, and I thought that she does seem like she'll have some talent.
Well, let's add to the inconsistency in here with the 2-star. Cloud is going to try and make it 2 in a row at the distance after rebounding from a really poor showing at 3/4 mile. Comes back, is so hard fought, beats those $50,000 optional claimers last time out.
And when we do have those recent maiden winners who are trying to prove things, you've got a filly who's 2 for 3 in her career, and the blemish on her career 2 starts back. She did have trouble in the race too, so maybe she's the one to include.
Well, let's go to race number 8 this afternoon. This one about 7.5 furlongs on the turf. Claim is 3-year-olds and up $16,000. Scratch the main track only, number 10, I believe it is, Tomato Gator, like saying that one. And I got a little bit of a long shot in here. I don't know how much of a long shot it's going to be. You got it on your ticket. And that's Uncle Pepe, who ran well on the turf here last year. 2 starts, a win and a third, is making his local return. First start since rallying. He finished third, but he was 29-1 when facing 30 claimers at the fairgrounds. Always respect the work that trainer Leo Gabriel Jr. does. Luca Panici in the irons today. I just thought that this horse 9-2 on the morning line would be bigger odds, because I thought people would see 29-1 and maybe back off.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. They added the blinkers 2 starts back too, and I'm curious what kind of speed he's going to show today too. I do actually think that Luca's a good rider on the front end and just kind of a good judge of pace early on. So that really could be a key too. And though it's been a cold meet for Leo Gabriel, when he does team up with Luca Panici, they've done very well together. I took a stab and I said we're a little bit all over the place in this race, but I went with the number 8, Be Quiet.
Wait, that's what you said him every day.
That's kind of true, actually. But B-E-E, be quiet. Jose Ortiz and Kevin Attard. But this one's trying the turf for the first time in here. And Have to Stakes place Sugar Cube is a 4-time grass winner. I just thought maybe try to get a little bit cute in here.
And then that's what I was doing with Uncle Pepe, because after all that said, I think the one to beat in here is the 4, Remember the Main. He's hoping for a clean
Yes.
trip. Got sort of bumped sideways, still managed to finish second at this level and distance. Marcus Vitale, Nick Juarez, all things being equal, and they certainly aren't in this race. I think the 4 on paper was the one to fear.
And that's what they always say, they don't run the race on paper. So anything can happen out on the racetrack, and we're going to try to go opposite directions.
Yeah, it's a wide. And once again, that's the beauty of the late pick 5 or the Rainbow 6 races like this. Boy, you got to be on. I'm going with my old man, Uncle Pepe, in there.
I like it.
Let's go to race number 9. This one's 7 furlongs allowance, optional claimer. 4 and up, the optional claimer price, $62,500. Couple of really nice horses in here, and one of them being the horse we both have on top, and that's Tale of Silence. Turning back to 7 furlongs, returned from that layoff, broke from the rail, tracked the pace, and finished third. And that was in the grade 3, excuse me, Fred Hooper.
Yes, he's coming out of graded stakes competition. He's one of those horses I was talking about earlier that has that back class. And I think that even though he hasn't had a win at the 7 furlongs, I think the 7 furlongs might be one of his more efficient distances. Went the mile in the Fred Hooper last time behind Tommy Macho and Conquest Big E, who are kind of putting on a show ahead of the rest of the field. Tale of Silence, a respectable third. But I loved his race in the City of Laurel 2 starts back. I thought he actually ran very well with a lot of trouble, and I think he can come in and be good at this 7 furlongs here at Gulfstream. I think it'll fit him well for trainer Barkley Tagg. To me, the other one with back class was the number 6 Sonic Mule, who was really good at the start of his career and winning stakes here at Gulfstream. Kind of been maybe a little bit questionable lately.
Yeah, he's been inconsistent. He followed a 3rd place finish. That was in the 6 furlong grade 3 Mr. Prospector. Comes back, runs 5th, a 75 optional claimer, but it is Todd Pletcher. It is John Velasquez. It's the son of Distorted Humor. And I think if this horse brings its A game, it wins in this particular spot. The horse I split those two with was the 4 Command Post, who's making his 4-year-old debut after showing tons of promise in the sophomore campaign. He won 2 of 4 races and finished 3rd in the mile in the 16th long branch. It's trainer Jason Service. He's really productive with the longer than 180-day layoff. He's productive with everything. And I just thought this horse got a touch of back class.
He does, and I remember when he broke his maiden here at Gulfstream during last year's championship meet, and it was just very impressive. I did look up some stats after 180-plus day layoff going from route to sprint. It's just 2 for 15 winning, but 10 for 15 in the money. So maybe needs a race as far as the win, but certainly to pick up a piece behind one of the other horses we were just talking about. Be curious to see what he does off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the guess there, but I think one of those guys, trainers, Jason Service, I do not leave off my ticket. Race 10 this afternoon, 6 furlongs, an allowance optional claimer. Fillies and mares 4 and up. I went with the number 6 in here, Arcelor's, turning back to 3/4 of a mile after a 2-race win streak ended. She finished a game 3rd. That was in the 7 furlong, $50,000 Ladybird. Jose Ortiz, lots to like for the number 6, Arcelor. Knows where that winner's circle is.
She certainly does, and I thought that this would be an interesting spot for her because she bobbled at the start last time out. She had a little bit of trouble in the Ladybird, but she's very consistent and she's been very, very solid. I think that she might even be better when she can rate just a little bit off of the pace, and that'll be good for her with some of the speed in here. I took a step and tried to get cute with a price horse in the 4 Enigmatica, who, even though she was well beaten last time, it was behind a really well-meant Todd Pletcher runner and Ascertain, and she was a good second. I think that she's kind of the one that maybe is just rounding into form, and she could be a nice price in here.
Yeah, 3rd start back from the layoff. Antonio Sano, Edgar Zayas, we both use competitive player. Moved to the Angel Quiros bond via the claim, steps up, the competition. Defeated 12-5 state-bred runners. What I like, good with new claims. Irad Ortiz Jr. in the
And
saddle.
he rode this mare last time, so he stays aboard off the claim.
Let's go to our final race on the Friday card, 1 mile and 1/16 on the turf, maiden special weight. We were talking about this horse a little earlier, Chirogenic, and we'll see a race from that horse.
Yes, we'll show you his race last time out where he added blinkers because 2 starts back, he was a single in the Rainbow 6, and this is on February 9th. He's the number 8. We'll pick it up at the quarter pole, and basically just what happens is Miguel Vasquez tries to find find room, can't find any room. He ends up shifting to the inside, and he came with a very strong turn of foot. 2 starts back, he was a single in the Rainbow Six. I think it was for about $300,000. He had the race pretty much won under Misael Jaramillo. He started to get kind of erratic in the lane, ended up dumping the jockey. Jaramillo didn't ride him back last time, but I thought Miguel did a very good job with him.
Yeah, that was quite an afternoon. One of the horses I want to touch on real quick is Boom Daddy, $190,000 son of a gelded son of Scat Daddy from Todd Pletcher. But I found an interesting start. Something I found that Todd might not do as well as all the other stuff he does. First-time starters, maiden special weight on the turf and roots. He's only 12%, 27% in the money, and a $1.41 ROI. So he doesn't. That's not his game. Just wanted to point that out. And that's Boom Daddy, the #1 in the nightcap.
And no siblings have won on the grass, and the dam was 0 for 6. So some questions there, but definitely a fun race to close things out on the last leg of the Rainbow Six.
Last leg of the Rainbow Six. Also beat the expert
That's
day
right.
today, and I am up. So please join us along and come and have fun with us and win the Rainbow Six.
That's right. Win the Rainbow Six and maybe get one of those great polo shirts too.